with demand expected to come back, the question remains, does this mean the economy is back on track?
Companies now, after experimenting with offshore in places like India, Philippines, and Poland, want to bring those jobs back.
We invest in the U.S. We're the biggest exporter in the country. In the cycle we're in right now, we're creating jobs.
From Radio America, it's Neil Asbury's Made in America, the show that explores American industry, large and small, and promotes American-made products everywhere. Put Neil Asbury's Made in America to work for you.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Roffman. Rich, boy, do we have a great show today. But I'd like to start off by, what did they say? It's if it's true, it's not bragging. If it's true, it's not bragging.
If it's true, it's not bragging.
Okay.
Right. It's fact.
That's fact. Well,
That's
this
fact.
week in Tallahassee, Florida, great town, there was a big conference for Florida with the governor and the Chamber of Commerce. And as part of this conference, the keynote was the chairman of the EXIM Bank, the Export-Import Bank of the United States. Very important organization. And by the way, EXIM, as it's known, actually makes money for the U.S. government. They actually return a profit every year. I don't know if there's any government agency that actually makes hundreds of millions of dollars on behalf of the taxpayer. In other words, you give them money, we give them money, EXIM. They issue these export guarantees, and the market pays for them. Small businesses, entrepreneurs like me, pays for them. And they make money. They make a lot of money. Without that, American companies can't export because traditional banks, don't look at foreign receivables as collateral.
Right.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it's a risk.
But that's what happens in our country. Anyway, Chairman Reed, Kimberly Reed, was down at this conference, keynote speaker, and she announced the United States Exporter of the Year at that conference. Who is it? It happened to be my company. How about that?
Unbelievable.
So there you go.
Massive celebration. Cats and dogs. This is
so
just great.
It's not bragging if it's true, right?
No, it's true. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, Rich, we got a great first guest. He's a great friend of the show. Let's bring him back on right now. Mark Hammrick from Bankrate.com, the senior economic analyst. Mark, welcome back to Made in America.
Good to be with you, gentlemen. I don't know how to follow that. I'll say congratulations.
Well, thanks.
Well, you could go for the Nobel. Wait a minute. That's out there.
Yeah, and hey, look, there's still a few slots to be filled there, right?
I think Mark should go for the Nobel Economics.
There you go.
No question. There you go, Mark.
And definitely you would one-up me on that. But it's all about jobs, Mark. It's all about jobs, right? We're about to have an election. It's all about jobs. And by the way, the whole EXIM thing, it's all about jobs. And, I'm very proud that the jobs we're able to create by conducting international trade, selling American products overseas. And the only way you get EXIM credit is by selling American products. So this isn't for importing products. It's only for exporting products. So therefore, the Export-Import Bank is really not a good characterization because it has nothing to do with imports. So it's all about export, creating jobs, good-paying jobs here in the United States, and we've been able to accomplish that. But, Mark, what's happening in the overall economy right now? Are we creating good-paying jobs in this economy right now? And what lies over the horizon?
Sure. Well, it's complicated. I think right now, obviously, we still need to recover about half the jobs that were lost when we lost 22 million jobs in March and April. And the timing of this conversation occurs after the release of the latest new unemployment claims, where we are seeing a steady but slow decline in the new claims for unemployment benefits as reported by the states and then into the U.S. Department of Labor. But the improvement lately has been slower. And I think this is pretty consistent with the overall trajectory of the U.S. economy of late, where we still appear to be on track for basically a year-on-year decline for GDP. While we may well, in fact, it's fully expected, we'll have a substantial rebound in the just completed third quarter, it won't be enough to get us back to pre-pandemic levels. So, I think that when you have 25 million Americans on some form of unemployment assistance, as of the latest read, it tells you that we're still very much in the midst of economic stress. And the recovery, as it did present itself some months ago, will still depend on the widespread availability of safe and effective vaccines, ones that the American public can put their trust in, and that does appear to be some time away, whether it's merely the availability of them, but also, of course, the widespread distribution of them.
So I want to ask you a question on this as it relates to the 50%. You know, we just talked about it. 50% of the jobs that were lost as a result of the pandemic have come back. They've created them again. They're back. So we got another halfway to go. So give me some perspective. Is that good? Do we think we're good to have done that to this point? Or do you think, is it slow in coming back? Do you think it's about where it should be? I'd just like some perspective on that, because a lot of people think it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately my perspective on that is irrelevant, because I go back to what President Reagan said back in the day was, if your neighbor is unemployed, that's a recession. If you're unemployed, that's a depression. But, you know, we can look across categories, and I know you're keenly invested/interested in the manufacturing sector. And according to the Labor Department, as of the release of the most recent monthly employment report, while we did have manufacturing adding 66,000 jobs in the latest month, over the past several months, we still have unemployment, or I should say employment in manufacturing, about 650,000 below February's level, and that's consistent with what we see across some of the more heavily damaged categories, such as leisure and hospitality and retailing. So, you know, I can tell you, having been communicating with U.S. Departments of Labor for decades now, one phrase that you would hear from either labor secretaries or others who are interested in that space, one phrase you would hear, Elaine Chao was among them under President Bush, was the official would say, "I will not rest until everyone who wants a job has a job." Of course, that means they would never rest, because that technically would never happen. But, you know, it's going to be a long journey to get back to what we previously considered to be close or below full employment, which was 3.5% on the unemployment rate back in February.
But we are under 8% now, right? Is the number still holding? You're just slightly below 8. But here's what I want to say, Mark, is this. I get everything you're saying, and that's what the macro numbers are telling us. But let me tell you what's happening on the ground. I own 4 manufacturing companies in the South and up in the Northeast. And so 2 different labor markets. I got to tell you, we can't find people to work. There are no people willing to work. We want to hire people. We want to hire, and we have so many jobs open right now. Right now, up in Pennsylvania, we have open right now 30 jobs on the manufacturing floor that we cannot find people. And we're paying very competitive wages with good benefits. People do not want to work. It's counterintuitive. Where are all these people that are unemployed? They're not there. I don't know where they are, but they don't want to work. How do you explain that?
Well, I don't think I can explain that, because I don't have access to that information. It's, you know, I mean, that's important for employers and employees.
But you hear it from so many small businesses and entrepreneurs and people. You just talked about manufacturing jobs. These are manufacturing jobs. They're well-paying jobs. I got to tell you, I hear from my friends. I hear from the communities that I do business in. Everybody's struggling to find people to work right now. Well, and these unemployment benefits are over, so that you can't blame it on the unemployment benefits that were elevated. That's not happening.
Well, it could be a variety of things. Anecdotally, you know, we know from, for example, the exit of women from the workforce. Many of those people are having to stay at home to care for their children who can't attend school. So it's unreasonable to expect them to be candidates for a job to allow a home alone situation when the children need to attend school at home. Elsewhere, you know, let's think back about the meatpacking plants, these worst case scenarios where people were being exposed to COVID, and in many cases coming down with it. So there may be some fear or reasonable assumptions being made in some cases that work is not a safe place to be these days. And so that's part of a shared solution where employers and employees and prospective employees need to work to essentially satisfy that requirement that they feel safe in going back to work. But I think ultimately, you know, this is not a new problem. This is a problem we've had for many years in our country, where there's a mismatch between the skills that employers need and the skills that people possess. And this ultimately gets to a failure of education. And in many cases, employers take it upon themselves to train their prospective workers because ultimately they can't find the workers any other way. But, no doubt it's a challenge that is continuing.
I think 2 points that you made are very relevant. The fact that schools are confused right now, and a lot of kids are not in school, or they're schooling at home or whatever, and someone has to be there for that. So I think those are very valid points right now. I have a quick question, and we can get it answered after the break, and that is, Neil, the people that were there before the COVID and had to be let go, are those people coming back, or are they still out on the street?
Okay. Hold that thought.
Hold that thought.
We're gonna get into this because this is very important because, we're talking about the job market and like all this unemployed people, but I don't know where they are. And please help me. We're going to have this discussion with Mark Hammrick and co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. Mark's from bankrate.com. He's a senior economic analyst. We still got a lot more to talk about. This is really, really fascinating stuff. Very important. Stick around.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman, and we're together with Mark Hammrick, who is from bankrate.com. He is the senior economic analyst. And just before we had to switch to a break, Dr. Rothman, had said it's absolutely true that kids are going to school, so people can't work because they got to take care of the kids. And then you mentioned about is the workplace safe, and what can we do to make the workplace safe? Well, what I want to respond to that in my own experience, right? In my own experience, we're very, very aware at our company that, and we have several hundred employees in the manufacturing side of our business. We're very aware that we have to have a safe work environment. And so everything that we can do to make it safe, we've done. All the social distancing. Everybody has to wear a mask. It's not optional. You can't come into the building. You got to wear a mask.
Do you check temperatures before they walk in?
We did.
They do down here.
We did when it was required. But the states we're operating in right now does not require that.
Okay.
But we do.
All right.
We do everything
Fair.
the states tell us, and the people from the states have been in our facilities to make sure we are doing what's supposed to be.
And they do that here.
And they do that.
Okay.
They do it all over, right? So the fact is that we are as safe as we possibly can be, and we've been very fortunate that we have not had a COVID issue. Right. And we're essential business. So we've stayed open, in all our facilities from the time it started until now. So we never had any close down of when we had to close down. But we did everything we're supposed to do. We're safe. And we've been so far, knock on wood, successful at running a very safe operation for our many hundreds of employees. Okay. So that's one point. And you talk about, can people go back to work in schools and all of that? Well, schools are now opening. But with the schools opening around the country, still can't find people who want to work. And then, if the situation is that people just got to work because you got to survive, then people find ways and alternatives, like aunts and uncles or grandmothers or grandfathers or friends who are, working together. I don't know. But when it comes down to paying rent and, having the necessities in life, people find ways to overcome the challenge.
Well, you would think they'd want to go back to work.
You think
you want to do that,
but Mark, but people aren't. People aren't going back to work. So when you talk about 3.5% unemployment, and you talk about 7.9% unemployment, I don't know where we're going to get to, because I know there's literally millions of jobs right now that's going unfulfilled. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I guess, it's a mystery to me about how this whole COVID thing has changed the country. So, Mark, how has the COVID thing changed the country? What is the workforce of the future? How does American companies adapt to the new realities of what we're going to be doing to run our businesses going forward?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to think about the fact that innovation has occurred at a remarkable rate, which is probably not fully appreciated by most of us because we've been experiencing it in real time. And so, whether it's me sitting here at my dining room table where I've trashed the dining room, I'm amazed my wife hasn't murdered me yet, with my
You don't know my
camera.
wife.
Well, but this is just one indication of how much innovation we're seeing, and so technology has been a big part of this solution, and I think there are many industries that have to do with IT, the cloud, collaborative tools, security, but then also satisfying what essentially business is what consumers are demanding these days. And so, for example, at a very basic level, that is online retail, but then delivery of groceries, certainly in the early parts of this situation, and then more recently, if they're not feeling comfortable out sitting outside a restaurant or inside, or if the weather doesn't allow it, the delivery and takeout piece of that, and then obviously the solutions that are tied to, for example, streaming of entertainment. Obviously, we see the motion picture industry on its knees at the moment, to the extent that they don't have theatrical releases. All this innovation is going to be important for the long term, and that's not to say that we're not all going to sort of rebound in some way and welcome the opportunity to be humans and to socialize and have tactile experiences when we think it's safe. But I think if you want to celebrate some aspects of what America does, and probably to some degree what the globe does, this innovation that people have really brought forward very quickly is quite remarkable, and some of it's going to stick.
Well, and I have to tell you this. Here's another real time scenario, and this is going to sound silly, but it isn't. We bought new washers and dryers for our home, brand new. All right. Problem is they could get the washer, but this is a GE product, by the way, and Samsung. It's made by Samsung. They can't get the dryer. Now this has been a month and a half to 2 months. They can't get the dryer.
Rich, I bought a
doesn't exist.
I bought a built-in dishwasher from Home Depot with a panel.
Mine
door.
was BrandSmart.
Hey, Mark. Let's
get Mark in this. This is great, Mark.
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to come back again real soon.
What did he buy that he can't get? I want to know. What did he buy that he can't get? It's driving his wife crazy, because this is driving my wife crazy.
Well, so far we're good, I have to say that. But no, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Neil and Rich, and I hope you all stay safe and continue your remarkable success.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, we got Steve Milloy, who's a former member of President Trump's EPA transition team and founder of JunkScience.com. I like that, JunkScience.com. We're going to talk about America's energy policy and the two competing visions, very, very different opinions about this very important topic. Stay with us.
Made in America.
Sharply higher at the open, stocks continued to perform well over the course of the day Tuesday.
And I think that bodes well here over the next couple of years for having bigger demands coming to this country.
Now, more of Neil Asbury's Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Ruffman. Hey, Rich, I always like talking to Mark, and I got to tell you, I'm really, really confused about this whole thing, is because we've supposedly have all this unemployment, but then you can't find people to work. And, I just don't get it. There's a lot of great jobs. And by the way, what salaries were, what hourly rates were in that prior to COVID, forget about it. That's like a decade ago, because post-COVID, the hourly wages and compensations has gone up. Has gone very much up. I got to tell you,
you think that would be attractive?
Find people who works in logistics and works in warehousing or anything like that. We'll find it, because you can't find them. I'm telling you can't find them, because they're all employed, and they're employed very well. And whatever you're going to pay a lot more in order to attract people. And this is happening all over the country, because e-commerce and everything like that, I mean, it's just going crazy. We talked about home goods, houseware goods, people nesting and doing all of that. The amount of business going on in this country post-COVID or during COVID compared to pre-COVID in e-commerce and what's going on, it's so much greater. And these jobs, just people cannot fill them fast enough. I mean, you hear about Amazon, you hear about Walmart.com, you hear about Wayfair, adding, thousands and thousands of jobs. UPS, FedEx, everybody who's delivering these packages, they can't find people. It's amazing, but yet you hear all the pundits saying that nobody wants to. We got all these jobs that's out there that nobody's taking.
Well, it's very, very interesting. I mean, we're railing about the success of the nesting market, that we can create wonderful things in our home, and Home Depot's doing bloody great. I mean, great. The
beyond
parking
belief.
lots are packed. But listen, I deal with Coral Gables all the time with my magazine. Coral Gables is. The homes that are being done over in Coral Gables is off the wall right now. Furniture is doing phenomenally well. High tech in the homes, phenomenally well. Upgrading security systems, phenomenally well. Because people have realized they're home. They were home for week on week and week and week. They're still home to a degree. And then, hey, you know what? I want to change this. Why do you suppose we got new washers and dryers in our house, which we couldn't get? Because we were there and we said, hey, you know what? We've had these for 7 years. We're getting rid of them. But on the other hand, then you look out there and you go, wow, so Disney just let go 28,000 people in the Orlando area. That's a lot of people for Orlando to take a hit with. 28,000 people. So it really depends what you're in right now. Where the good story and the bad story, you will be the winner and they're going to be the loser.
It just depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So I'm excited to hear from Steve.
Well, let's talk about energy and how that industry is doing. And I guess if one vision succeeds, energy is going to, I don't know what's going to happen to it. We're going to be in the Stone Ages. Or another vision is that we're going to be energy independent and no one is going to hold a hammer to our head because we don't need them. And in fact, we could help our allies because we're producing more energy here than we can consume ourselves. Let's bring on right now Steve Milloy, former member of President Trump's EPA transition team and founder of Junk Science. JunkScience.com. Hey, Steve, welcome to Made in America.
I get great visions when I say that. Junk Science. All right, Steve.
So, Steve, man, take it away. I mean, what's happening with these competing visions? And will the Democrats ban fracking? I know that, it's a politically sensitive thing to say, especially in states like Pennsylvania. But then you got all the radical left that if they don't say it, then they're also not radical left like they think they should be. I don't know. I mean, what's going on with this?
Well, before he started denying it, Joe Biden was all for banning fracking. Before Kamala Harris started, denying it, she was all for banning fracking. AOC wants to ban fracking. The Democratic National Committee, they had a climate report earlier this year. They want to ban fracking. Every environmental group wants to ban fracking. The environmental groups, I think, are going to be a lot more influential on the agenda than Joe Biden. So I think they're going to ban fracking, and I always hearken back to my experience in the coal industry when Obama was running for president with Joe Biden as his vice president. Their official policy was they weren't going to ban new coal plants. But then, Biden secretly admitted that that's what they actually were going to do, and they actually did it. So I just look at this as a giant campaign of lies that these guys are going to, if there's a Biden administration, and for however long it's a Biden administration, not a Harris administration, they are going to use every tool of the federal government, like they did with the coal industry, to break the oil industry.
Well, and the coal industry. You can have coal plants, but we're going to make it so expensive because of the mercury and the regulations that it will bankrupt you anyway. That's got to be telling you what's going on out there right now. I mean, hey, wait a minute! Don't believe them. That's what it's saying.
Right.
In neon, don't believe what I'm saying.
When they asked Obama, "Are you going to ban coal plants?" he said, "No, I'm just going to make it so expensive," and that's exactly what he did. And Biden has said, well, we're not going to ban fracking. We're just going to phase it out. Well, they're going to ban fracking.
Well, Steve, I mean, Hillary Clinton says that, she was going to put everybody out of work in coal country. And a lot of people say that cost her the election, right? That cost her election. Coal country, Pennsylvania, obviously Western Pennsylvania, big deal. Ohio, a very big deal, the coal industry. And those two states back Trump in a big way because she was going to put him out of business and she was going to put everybody else on welfare, and she was proud of that. And a lot of people say that was doomed her campaign. She didn't know it at the time, but it did.
Well, how can you... Wait a minute. I got to get Steve started. How perverse is to give a speech to people... I mean, really, I don't understand this. That you're... Vote for me, but by the way, I'm going to put you out of business, but don't worry, there's a lot of welfare coming your way. I mean, Steve, that doesn't endure great excitement for me.
Well, it doesn't for me either. I don't. You know, all these polls that supposedly show Joe Biden in the lead, I really don't understand them because... You know, if Biden bans fracking or, you know, even reduces production a little bit, gas prices are going to go through the roof. Energy prices 100%. Are going to go through the roof. We are going to be, you know, once again beholden to OPEC. And now with China on the rise, I mean, that's just going to be bad news all around. And for Biden to be able to say, oh, I'm not going to ban it after, you know, a whole track record and a whole party of nothing but banning, you know, this kind of stuff. It's just unbelievable.
Hey, Steve, we're going to take a quick break right there. We're with Steve Milloy, former member of President Trump's EPA transition team, founder of JunkScience.com. Still much more to talk about. Very fascinating. Stay with us.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman, and we are with Steve Milloy, founder of JunkScience.com. So, Steve, let's just keep going with this. We had a vice president debate this week. And obviously, the Green New Deal, fracking, and all of that was very much, you know, part of the discussion. How do you think Vice President Pence did, and how do you think that that Senator Harris did?
Well, I think the vice president just crushed it. I mean, he showed that, you know, he is a leader with facts, experience, and compassion. And she had none of that. I mean, I don't think she knows the first thing about how energy actually works, you know, what the world runs on, what the Green New... You know, if she knows what the Green New Deal is all about, you know, it's more about the political aspects of it. You know, the Green New Deal is just like this leftist plot. It's got nothing to do with saving the planet because it certainly wouldn't do that. It would just reduce everybody's standard of living while giving the government, you know, almost total control of your life.
Well, I don't think people are going to really be happy going back to $4 to $5 a gallon of gasoline in this country. I don't think they're going to be happy about the fact that products, if you can get them, are going to be that much more expensive because it's going to cost that much more to ship them. I don't think they're going to be happy when airline prices, if we can ever get the airlines in the air again, and people feel comfortable paying, you know, 1.5 times, 2 times the price that they could pay right now. So, I mean, I just find it astounding that anybody, I mean, that's why I don't believe any of these surveys. I just can't believe the polls. I can't believe the polls because I can't believe America's that stupid that they would vote for somebody who says, wait a minute, we're not going to have fracking, so energy's going to go up. We're not going to have fossil fuels. I mean, Newsom says in 15 years, we don't want any gas cars in California because, oh, my God, we've got to have electric. We're not there yet, Governor. Well, we're going to have it. You know, we're not going to do that. You know,
how does he pull that off?
California. I mean,
how does he pull that off, Steve? Can he pull that off? I mean, can he say we're not going to have any gasoline cars? What happens to all those gas stations? What happens to all that? Those people who's working? Can he do that, or is that going to be in the courts for like the next 100 years?
I mean, he doesn't have the authority to just ban gasoline-powered cars by any year, and he's not even going to be in power then anyway. But let's look at the mentality of people in California. Here you have a governor who refuses to manage the public forests, and as a result, the state is burning down. People's lives people are losing their lives. Businesses are being destroyed because Gavin Newsom refuses to cut some trees down because he thinks that he's advancing his climate agenda by letting his state burn. I mean, that's criminal. And Californians are letting him get away with it. I know that there's a recall Gavin Newsom movement going on now, but how many years does California have to burn like this? You know, California could, based on California's natural history, it could be in drought for the next 200 years. And so California could clearly just burn down until there's nothing left to burn. And, Gavin Newsom is doing nothing about it. It's criminal. And people are letting him get away with this.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
It's perverse. Listen, but the problem is, because I'm in the media business, so I deal with a lot of folks on the left, and they are absolutely convinced that the reason we're having burning in California is climate change. Because it's climate change. It's obvious. Wait a minute. Steve's got junk science. Steve, how does the junk science concept fit into this? Because somehow 2 and 2 is 7. It's not working. By the way, we have Rod Serling coming on in just a few minutes.
If you look at the natural history of California going back for the past 1,000 years, they have these mega droughts all the time. Some have lasted as long as 200 years. We could be in one of those right now. Who knows? The 20th century was really sort of unusually wet for California. Go figure.
So, Steve, something that's come out and I got to get this out before we got just a couple of minutes left, but, the whole thing about the Green New Deal, and then Biden was, kind of put on the spot by President Trump during the debate that, you're just a Green New Deal guy. You're just Green New Deal. Mm-hmm. And he said, no. I got the Biden plan. The Biden plan. We're not the Green New Deal. We got the Biden plan. And then you go back to the website of Biden, and it says that the basis of the Biden plan is the Green New Deal.
Yes.
So help clear this up for me. I mean, what is the Biden plan, and why is it different than the Green New Deal? Because they seem the same to me.
Well, if you recall, Biden first said that the Green New Deal would pay for itself after President Trump said it would cost $100 trillion. Biden said, it'll pay for itself. And then he went into his denial routine. So the Biden plan, the Biden plan, there is no Biden plan. Okay, the Biden plan is to turn everything over to AOC. That's the deal they cut with Bernie Sanders, right? Only the radicals care about this stuff. Biden doesn't care about the environment. And so I fully expect that these left-wing radicals are going to be running environmental policy, and fracking will be banned. What's left of coal is going to be stomped out, and it's going to be a disaster.
Well, what I found interesting the other night in the debate is when, a week ago in the debate with Trump, 2 weeks ago, he said that, I don't support the Green New Deal. So does that mean that he fired AOC? Oh, by the way, she doesn't like being called AOC, so I'm going to continue calling her that. But does she know she just lost her job? I thought she was going to be in charge of energy. She's the Rick Perry of the Democratic Party.
And Steve, you got 15 seconds. That's all we got.
Biden is a lifelong swamp creature. He's kind of just this idiot politician who says anything to get out of the particular moment. He doesn't really mean anything. He'll just say anything.
Hey, Steve, man, we're going to end it there. Well said.
Okay.
Steve Milloy, founder of junkscience.com. You got to check it out. Steve, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Coming up, Dr. Rothman and I are going to have some final thoughts for the day.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Lasbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. Hey, Rich, that's a nice discussion with Steve.
I like Steve.
Energy.
Steve's fun.
Very, very junkscience.com. Check out Steve Milloy. And a lot of what we talked about here today, he goes in really, really great detail. You really want to check that out. So, Rich, it's been another fascinating week. We're less than 4 weeks away from the election. I guess we're 3 weeks and 5 days.
It's like 26 days or so.
3 weeks and 5 days.
Yeah.
And, boy, a lot can happen in this period of time. We still got a couple of presidential debates left, I hope.
Maybe.
The polls are all over the place.
They were the first time around in 2016. Why would I listen to any of the same people saying the sky is falling? I'm just not going to do that. I don't think the president pays attention to that. You have to move forward with your vision and your message.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, listen, I said, and we've been talking about this now for years, going back to Obama when we were trying to get him out of office and get Trump to be in there. But we're going to see things that we would never imagine that we would see prior to this election. That is how desperate the Democrats are. They are desperate. when Pelosi comes out this week and says, you know what, I think we're going to pull, I want everyone to come back tomorrow. I think we're going to pull an Article 25 on this president, and I'm going to get him out because I think he's sick. This is just before an election, and now I'm going to get him out because I think he's sick. Now, do you think she's real about this? I don't know. I don't think so, because I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to create more chaos that's out there, and man, we got a lot of chaos out there. You know, if anyone sells chaos insurance, they're doing great right now. I don't think they do, but it would do really well. So, I mean, did you ever expect to see that before a debate? Did you ever get to say, Sam, listen, the president goes in the hospital, and then the cancel culture says, we have to defund Walter Reed Hospital because they let the president out. That's outrageous. How could they let the president out? They don't know what they're doing. Defund it. Now we're going to defund an entire hospital. I mean, I got to tell you, what's the net result in this? Is the net result that the independents, those who are, I don't mean the independents that go to a Biden rally, by the way, and they have it in a town hall, and they find out they're all lying anyway. They're all Biden people. But the real independents, you think they're listening to this and they're looking at Pelosi, who, by the way, she has a cognitive problem too, by the way. Take the ice cream away and probably some vodka, and she's in a lot of trouble, you know? Or do we want to look at Biden? Wait a minute, if we're thinking about Article 25, or you look at Biden, and Biden, I mean, if you have any polysyllabic words like environment that, you know, Steve just said, he gets lost. Somewhere along the way, he needs a GPS. Hey, it starts with an E, ends with a T, find it. You know what I mean? I just find it amazing. I find it amazing when Biden says, I'm the head, I'm the Democratic Party. This is what he said in the debate. I said, my God, he's the only one who doesn't know he's an effigy. And what do we do with effigies? We burn them. We burn them in effigy. He's an effigy of the Democratic Party. So it is so amazing right now. I have never experienced what I'm seeing. I mean, it's a little scary. It's a scary scenario, but it's also, I mean, it's kind of thrilling.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't know how to respond to all of that because this is classic Dr. Rothman right
Start
there.
With an E, end with a T, find it.
Dr. Rothman,
Just
he has a
find
way
it.
of just kind of explaining it and making it all clear for us. But you know, there is, Rich, and, you know, we're just going to have to face it. I mean, there is distinct possibility that Biden does pull this off.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
that's the scary part.
And then, you know, it's going to be like what we were, you know, during the Obama administration. We're going to be out here, you know, holding them accountable. And hey, look, you know what we got to look forward to? Remember when we've always did our segment every week on the rise of cronyism in America?
Oh, we can bring it back.
Rise of cronyism.
We can bring it. That'd be great with Biden.
We're gonna be getting that one. We're gonna be dusting that off here real soon.
It'll be global. That's the nice thing about it. Because it'll be global.
Can't imagine.
We can go to the Eastern European countries because Biden's known there, and his son, and God knows. We can go to the Mideast and talk about what his brother did. That would be great. Then we can go to China and we can cover that, and then an hour later we'll want to cover it again. So that's kind of exciting. I don't know. I guess so, Neil. I guess so. Exciting stuff.
I mean, you know, Obama, you know, he was, you know, difficult things, lots of crazy stuff going on. But Obama is kid stuff compared to what this administration will look like.
Listen, the selection is dire. We're having fun with it, but with humor you can make a point. And the point is this is dangerous.
And right there, we're going to have to end it. Rich, another wonderful show. Great to be with you. But unfortunately, we're out of time. But we're going to be back again next week for another adventure of Made in America, where we never stop fighting for your jobs.